That includes this evening. There it is. That includes the previous talks. It also includes the talks that we had over the summer. If you're interested in any and all, please put your name and information in the chat, forward it to Dre or our co-host. We will get you on our email list, not only with tonight's recording, but any of the other previous recordings. If you want to be part of that, please send us that information. I think we've gotten all the house cleaning done. We try to keep that quick because what we're really here to do is hear our speaker this evening, hear what they have to bring. And it's a privilege for me to introduce, and it'll be a privilege to hear because I have only seen her acts of service in a particular meeting that we both attend on Tuesday nights, but I have yet to hear her story or experience. So with a great amount of anticipation from Los Angeles, North Hills, California, I messed that up last week, from North Hills, California, Miss Theresa F.
There we go. I'm unmuted. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Theresa. I'm an alcoholic. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober because of a loving God. I always have a share before I share. I'm uncomfortable. This is awkward. I'm intimidated. Especially I'm sharing after Ralph. Lord have mercy on me. I totally messed up last week. Sorry I wasn't here. I was like, I'm going to go hear Ralph and then jump in that other meeting. And I thought it was the other way around. But anyway. But even though I'm uncomfortable, I do it because my life depends on it. I do this often, everywhere, all over the world, and I'm still uncomfortable, y'all. Never knew my experience can benefit others. I want to welcome anybody who's new. Welcome home. Please keep coming back. And old timers, thank you for my life and my sobriety. My sobriety date is March 29, 1990. But for the grace of a loving God, sponsorship, fellowship, 12 steps, 12 traditions, I would say it takes a village. I've had the honor of being with you all for the last 33 years. All right, let's get down to the nuts and bolts. Every time I have to share in particular on the steps or traditions, I always feel like I don't do it justice because there's so much to that. But I'm going to do the best I can to share with you my experience in these areas. And I always say, don't hold me to it because I'm always growing and learning. And so sometimes I'd be like, you know what I told you last week? That sounded deep, right? I found that I didn't know what I was talking about. But it sounded good last week. I discovered a whole new perspective on that situation or those circumstances. So I'll do the best I can to share with you in steps 6 and 7 what has been my experience through the years. And it's so hard to not go back to 1 through 5, right? Because it's kind of like what I'm assuming is that at this point, I've uncovered and discovered some things. I've discovered that I'm an alcoholic, and what that entails is this allergy of the body and this obsession of the mind. But I have to get to the root of that in order to treat those two areas. And in order to keep the plug in the jug and to keep the insanity of the head going, I have to recognize the insanity and know that there's only going to be one power that's going to change that. And I have to examine what is the dynamic between my issues with a higher power and let go of my old idea of a higher power for me, which was alcohol. And I'm born addicted. So I came into this world loaded. I drank my entire life. So my first 24 years of my life was inundated with alcohol abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, and sexual abuse. And that's all I knew until alcohol betrayed me and abandoned me and left me emotionally retarded with no coping skills. And I crawled into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous on March 29, 1990, from New York City to California because of attraction. My mother is sober and my cousin. And my mother died with 37 years of sobriety just a year ago. And so when I came into these rooms, I didn't know that even what alcoholism was. I didn't know anything. So this has been a process for me. I always say I feel like I've been in a witness protection program or abducted by aliens. But I certainly, when I came here, I didn't come with any resistance because the life that I had always known, I knew that had changed. And so I didn't know what you guys had to offer, but I was willing to go on this experience and this journey. And that's what it's been all these years. And so I had to let go of old ideas, but first I had to see what they were because I didn't even know. I think Ralph used to always say, I don't know I'm in it until I'm out of it, right? So I had to look at some things. And so far, 1 through 5 gives me an opportunity to not only examine, am I an alcoholic and what is that exactly? And if I can check off all the boxes based on my experience, the only remedy is a spiritual remedy. That what I heard was that if I get straightened out spiritually, then I'll straighten out mentally and physically. It was not the other way around. That I didn't need to concern myself with how to pick up the pieces and get my life together. What I needed to see was that all along I've been playing God and how it does not work. But you see, I'm an alcoholic, and it takes a whole lot for me to truly understand the nature of that, the truth about that. So you take me on a journey through these steps, which is a roadmap to begin to see. And what I discovered in my inventory wasn't the first 3 columns. I come from a mafia family. I know what a hit list looks like. I can tell you exactly what everybody did to me. And I can tell somebody about it and it'll change your zip codes or you won't have no legs. So I come from that world, right? But now all of a sudden what you introduced me to is a column that I never knew about. At no time did I ever consider what the heck I had to do with that situation. For some reason, I remembered everything you did, but never once did I ask myself, what did you have to do with that? And when I saw it, I really began to see how I am no longer the CEO of Theresa Incorporated. There is nothing in the literature that has been given to me that has ever said that I was a bad person. I was horrible. I was flawed and not use to say defective. I have defects of character, damaged. What I heard it say was, I understand completely, Theresa, why you're still sore, with good reason. I could see why those things disturbed you because they affected so many areas of your basic living instincts. I can also see why you responded and reacted the way you reacted. I can see why you have fears. Those fears are legitimate. There are many things that you said fancy or real. I can see why you're disturbed by them. I can even see why you're terrified by so many things and why it runs through the fabric of the existence of your life. That every decision I have made has been based on that. And it said, I completely understand it. That's not the issue here. The issue is how you go about solving it. And if you're willing to have an open mind, I'm going to show you how everything that you have done to accomplish the very things you believe should happen, why they don't work. That's been my journey. And when I see that, I get to go, what? So everything I'm doing is not successful. I always feel the big book is a pop-up book. I'm very Latina, I'm Puerto Rican, we're very Telemundo, and I believe Bill writes in a very visual way. And so I say a pop-up book because most of the time me going through the book, I would be like, what? I mean, I was like, what are you saying to me right now? Are you serious? What is happening? And so what? I'm going to die. Selfishness is killing me. It is the root of all my troubles. What? I didn't know that. I wasn't walking around. I'm not a malicious person. I don't have ill intent. I have an illness. And that illness needs to be treated. But before I can actually get down to it, I got to look at the causes and conditions. And so how did I handle situations in my life? How did I problem solve? I always use this analogy, and wherever I work in the workshop or go over steps 6 and 7, just because I'm visual, bear with me, folks. I relate to my defects of character as the Avengers. And the reason why I see them as the Avengers, as I helped to raise my nephews when they were babies, and I would take them to the movies, we would watch these superheroes. And I don't know if anybody noticed, but the superheroes would come into town because there was a villain in town. And they would come to save the person or the people. And the superheroes would get rid of the villain or cast them out. But every time we left the movies, I would say, who's cleaning up the town? Because when they left, there was bridges were blown up, buildings were blown up, pavements. I mean, that town was demolished. And they would just leave. And I'd be like, who's cleaning up the town? Usually it's the Al-Anon. It's the Al-Anon that gets left cleaning up the mess. But anyway, that's another conversation. Now, I say the Avengers, my defects of character, because I'm calling on them because that's the only thing I have. I'm in trouble. I feel like I'm in danger, or it seems as though someone's doing something to me. I certainly don't see how I might have started it, but I can certainly see that I'm in danger. And I turn to the very things that I would say I was raised by my character defects. I don't think I would have survived without them. Selfishness and self-centeredness. I'm selfish, self-centered, arrogant, self-righteous, egotistical. I'm dishonest. I didn't even know that that's what I was doing. But I noticed that in using them, although there was times it says the victor sometimes seems to win, as though there were times that it seemed as though I was winning, in the end, I really didn't. Like the Avengers, they just left the town demolished. And so I need a new sheriff in town. That's how I saw it, y'all. I had to tell Thor and, you know what I mean, the guy with the eyes. I'm saying on the Avengers, if you look, what's his name, Hulk? Like he shows up when he gets angry and he be beating up people. I have to tell them, thank you so much for all of your service. Thank you for coming to help me. But you know what? This isn't working anymore. Because that's what you asked me in step 6. It says, am I entirely ready? Well, entirely is a pretty clear word. It doesn't mean somewhat ready, kind of ready, maybe on the border of considering it's ready. Am I entirely ready? Do I look at them and say, they still serve me a purpose? I think I need to still use that. I don't see how I'm going to get through the day, my job, with my family without them. I think I'll hold on to some of that. What you're asking me to do is to surrender to the fact that there is a power all-knowing. You helping me to see, you use language like infinite power rather than finite self. Well, I have evidence that I have been finite. I'm not sure about this infinite power, but what you're telling me is that it's in opposition of my demonstration of my thoughts and my actions. Do I want to give that a try? Theresa, you're absolutely right, but it's how you go about it. Why don't we do something different? Let's just try something different. Humor here. Let's just go with something different. Let's tell all the Avengers if they can just hang out for whatever planets they come from, and we're going to find a new power that can perhaps do the same thing, but in a way that doesn't destroy the town. That's how I saw it. Initially, I looked at it like calling on I Dream a Genie or Bewitch. Well, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and all I know is I Dream a Genie and Bewitch. Sometimes they would make a mess, but it was real easy for them to put stuff back. And they were always helping, anyway, they were helping Tony. And see, alcohol was my master. I was the puppet. It told me when to get up in the morning, when to go to bed at night, where I was going to live, where I wasn't going to live, if I was in a relationship, if I was not. So when I came here, I was very clear that I needed another power. I know people get all caught up in the higher power and religion. No, I needed another power. Alcohol was the only power I knew in order for me to exist, to breathe. And when that power stopped working, I was in trouble. I am powerless. I don't know not how to exist in a 24-hour day with some sort of power. But I was fascinated with the power that you guys found. The power you found lied inside of you. And not only did it lie inside of you, it empowered you as opposed to alcohol, the higher power that disempowered me. The higher power you found gave you a voice, gave you the freedom of choice. The higher power you found, and I heard people say this, that's because the language says, I saw that God did for me what I could not do for myself. I get where that comes from. But I've yet to see that God does things without my permission. Alcohol did things to me without my permission. Sexual predators did things to me without my permission. Illnesses have done things to me without my permission. Right? I did it whether I liked it or not. It happened to me whether I liked it or not. But the higher power that I'm now on a journey with to uncover, discover, and discard so that I can connect to this source of power, needs my permission. Why do I say that? When I make a decision on 3, until that decision is made, I don't care how much my higher power wants me to live a different life. I ain't doing it because I was given a gift when I was born in this planet, in Earth planet, in this dimension, which called free will. And Alcoholics Anonymous in the 12 steps is going to teach me how to redirect that will. And to not, that's why they call it defects of character. It says we run amok, self will run riot. I'm not damaged. And so now I need to redirect my will. As an alcoholic, when I look back, I have resilience, determination. Are you serious? You can't live an alcoholic like I did without having any of that. I'm relentless. Come hell or high water, boy, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it happen. I always say God himself can make his very creation do what he wants them to do until they say okay. And when I said okay on 3, I went into a journey to solidify the reason why I said okay. And now I'm at 6 and I go, you know what? None of this is working. You tell me, even if I say I'm uncomfortable giving it up, can you just be willing? Can you be willing to say it's not working? Can you just give it a shot? Now, is that scary? In the 12 and 12, they talk about the hole in the donut. Of course it's scary because I've been walking around with these tools my entire life. As much as they're broken, they're rusty, they cause damage, they're familiar. This is unfamiliar. That's why I say I've done the uncomfortable until it became comfortable. I'm an adventure. I'm now seeking. I'm about to have a new experience. You tell me with a new employer, a new director. Isn't it interesting they use the term new? Why do they say new? So I'm no longer the CEO of Theresa Incorporated. I don't know if anybody's ever seen Tabitha take over or the restaurant guy. Usually they come in and they go, give me the keys. I'm taking over. And they begin to show the employer what's wrong with the company, not so they could take them from them or they can no longer own a company, is so that they could see what they cannot see, what is not working. And then to introduce them to another way, you know what I mean? Of functioning in that company. I don't know, I like that kind of stuff. And it's like they start doing inventory. And what usually happens in most of those shows, the employer is pissed off. They don't like hearing it. They don't like finding out that they're the cause of most of what's going on and why that company is failing. But then they come around because what is the objective? I want a successful company. And this is an ego smashing process. But it has to be smashed in order for us to succeed. So yes, I'm entirely ready. But you know what's interesting, how I become entirely ready? I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but whenever I go, yeah, I'm entirely ready, for some reason, those defects of character become like enlarged. It's like 3D or something. All of a sudden, I really see them. Where before I kind of became aware of them on paper. And then I don't know, I started seeing like, ooh, that selfishness is ugly. Oh my God, was I just so selfish? Did I just lie? Oh man, ooh, that's not cool. And I think that's how I really become entirely ready. I start growing a conscience or something, like it's no longer appealing. It doesn't settle right with me anymore. You told me I was blocked from the sunlight of the spirit. And I remember that woman, Marcy, she told me I had a beautiful light inside of me and we just need a clean house for that light to shine. And I believed Marcy. And so what am I doing? I'm cleaning house, man. Let's get rid of all this stuff that's blocking me from the sunlight of the spirit. And if these things that you call defects of character, that I call survival, are no longer going to apply in a life called sobriety, because now we're in a new world, in a new place, where a lot of those tools, I can let them go. Perhaps if I go back to that life, I can apply them because that's maybe the only way I can survive with them. But I'm here now, and I want to learn how to stay sober. And staying sober, those things don't work. Not here. And I'm willing to do that. Let's see what happens. I can always go back to that. But let's just give it a shot. You know what's fascinating? I'm at 6. I go, okay, Avengers ain't working. I Dream of Genie or Bewitch or something. I got to let go of any of my ideas on how to problem solve because that's the only way I know how. And I already saw it don't work. I'm in collision with something or somebody. Situation only gets worse. I never arrive at whatever it was I was trying to get. As a matter of fact, it only perpetuated my fear. Okay, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm willing to get rid of, I'm entirely ready. Yes, I am. I'm entirely ready for God to remove all these defects of character, and I have a list. And even my sponsor added some if there was some I overlooked. One of the things I've been tripping out lately is, you know how we say I've been playing God? We've been playing God. I've been putting this out to people. Have we been playing God? What God have I been playing? An imposter? Because God himself don't do half of the things or even a quarter of the things that I be doing when I'm playing God. That's kind of deep, right? But anyway, that's I'm like, what God have I been? Because God don't even do that. He doesn't make people do what they don't want to do, manipulate them, force them, tie their hands. That's funny. Anyway, I was like, I don't even think I was playing God. I'm playing God. I don't even know. Anyway, I'm like, I don't even think I was playing God. I don't even know what the hell I was doing. So at this point, it's like, honestly, I don't know what I've been doing. But what I do know is that it ain't working. And isn't it fascinating when I get to this place of what I believe to be surrender? I'm talking about arrogance and ego is something else. Because I like in the 12 and 12, how it says, I'm so willing to give up these things that are not attractive. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, yes, I'll give that up. That doesn't give me a good look. But procrastination, you know what I mean? All those sneaky little things, it's a trip. So I'm like, yep, I'm willing to give that all up. No more Avengers for me. And I go into 7. So the answer I learned the 1 step is in the next step. Okay. And I go into 7 and you tell me I become humbled. And how I understand humbled, if I look it up, is just to recognize my flaws. I'm not groveling. I ain't a punk. I'm recognizing my flaws. Here is where I now become a human being rather than a human doing. The strings have been cut. I'm no longer a puppet. And I'm humbled by that. But the 7-step prayer continues to fascinate me. Didn't I have a list? Didn't I have a list of what I thought I needed to get rid of? What happens to my list in 7? Nobody trips out on that? I'm like, hey, what happened to my list? In 7, I go into 7 and I go, God, take all of me, good and bad. Yo, where's my list? It just reiterated that I don't know. 7 reminds me that I don't know. That I got to let go of everything I think I know about myself, about you, about God, and have an experience. Take all of me, good and bad. So I say, what do you think works and don't work? Where do these apply and don't apply? Will any of them be used for something or not? I'm not here to walk on water. I'm here to learn how to stay sober and live amongst the land of the living and to get out of self. I am consumed with self. And I'm introduced to this power that will guide me on how to do that, even when it comes down to problem solving. Wasn't that the issue before? Of all the ideas that I came up with how to problem solve, and it wasn't successful? How do I problem solve now? You're going to start teaching me, aside from not, kind of going forward. The answer to 7 is an 8. The answer to 8 is a 9. Because really where I started experiencing a lot of these defects of character change and fall away was a 9. And I always say, I know I'm jumping ahead, but there is no way I would continue to be dishonest, selfish, self-centered, arrogant, self-righteous, and knock on people's doors and look in their eye and tell them the exact, you know what I mean? Exactly what I did wrong. That's true. I tripped out. I was like, yo, this program works. I was like, did you just see what happened? Now I give an example. I give one example in particular of where it's not always fluffy and cute and nice as far as how I handle situations. And I'm going to use this word. I'm going to try. I don't know how to not use the word. It's a bad word. So I hope I don't offend anybody, but this is an example, right, of what happened. My brother died. There's a lot to this. Anyway, my youngest nephew is suicidal. He's in the hospital. My oldest nephew is being a real asshole about it. And he's got his arm crossed and I'm not going to help him. And I don't care. Do whatever. And everybody's talking to him and I'm just listening. And what I learned is to inventory. And I'm listening and I'm asking God to remove everything about me, take good and bad. What will you have me be? What will you have me do? Make me useful. And then what came out of my mouth was this, because everybody was trying to convince him of things. And I said, it occurred to me that I think it's a language barrier. What I noticed since your dad died, that there's a word that you've taken that you seem to really relate to, and you use it often, and you're really comfortable with this word. So if it's okay with you, I think I like to use the word that you like to use the most. And I'll explain it to you this way. Who in the fuck? And I went, because he was using that word a lot, right? Who in the fuck you think you are? I mean, I went off. I will kick your motherfucking ass. Like, what's going on? Right? I will fuck you up. And I need you to get your fucking shit out of the car and get the fuck out of my face. And if I don't see you here tomorrow, I'm gonna hunt you down, I'm gonna fuck you up and drag your fucking ass in here. That was funny. And so everybody was like, oh my God, like, how spiritual is that, right? And the next day it was raining and he was there sitting with his hoodie on in the corner. And I was like, thank you for not having me to find you and beat your ass in the rain. And he looked at me and he said, Titi, you have my undivided attention. You see? Now, had I said, you know how I'm going to handle the situation? I'm going to show him that I'm tougher, I'm badder, I'm better, and I'm going to go in there, I'm going to let him know what he really needs to know. And you know what I'm saying? I don't think it would have turned out that way. I don't think it would have turned out that way at all. It was because I said, God, remove whatever you need to remove from me. I'm entirely ready to get rid of what I think I need to do to solve this issue. And I'm going to let you tell me what I need to say and what I need to do. That's been my experience about 6 and 7. I've been in many situations. I've been a caregiver to most of my perpetrators and my abusers. And the only way I've been able to stay sober and sane through that is practicing these steps. What is that like? I remember my brother was suicidal or my nephew was suicidal. To say, take away from me what I think I need to do to save their life. I remember my brother was suicidal one time. He called me to watch the kids, but I knew he was up to something. And I had him cornered in the parking lot, man. I wouldn't let him leave. And I called my father. My brother is Christian, and we're African tradition. My brother was getting more and more mad. I called my dad because I think he's like Yoda, right? And I was giving him examples of Star Wars because my brother loves Star Wars. And I'm like, you're Darth Vader, I'm Luke Skywalker. And we're gonna call Daddy, and we're gonna get Yoda, right? And then my dad's trying to help, and my dad's over there. My dad thought he would do a prayer. My brother knew, and my dad was like, our Father who prays in the sky. Like he was messing that prayer up. And my brother was getting more and more pissed. And then he says to me, let me ask you a question. Why are you here? I said, because I love you and I care. Huh? Are you here because of your will or God's will? I said, let me think about that for a minute. You know what? I'm here on self-will. You know why? Because I'm selfish. I'm selfish because I want my brother to live and I don't want you to die. I'm self-seeking because you're my older brother and I need you in my life and I need you to be a father to those boys. I'm dishonest because I keep telling you that I know you have a reason to live, where the truth of the matter is I really don't even know. I know you only have a reason to live for me and what I think you should live for. And I'm terrified. I'm terrified that you're dying on my watch. I'm terrified that those boys are going to be looking at me every single day for the rest of their life and blaming me for your death because I didn't stop you. I'm terrified that I'm going to grow up without a brother and I'm going to have my brother not in my life and I'm not going to know what to do. And that mommy's going to hate me because her baby, her pride and joy is finally gone. And for those reasons, I am driven because of those reasons. Engaging in this conversation is why I'm on self-will. And I'm so glad you asked me because I couldn't see it. And he was like, and that's why you can't help me. So I said, God, I'm entirely ready now, right? To remove all of that. God, take all of me. What will you have me be? What will you have me do? Good and bad. Make me useful. And I looked at my brother and I said, what do you need from me? I need you to do what I asked you to do. I need you to take care of the boys and make sure they go to school. And now you can drop me off in Pasadena. And he went to see a therapist. I came back, got the boys to school. I went home, packed a bag, and I went to speak in Canada because that's what I, I had a flight that morning and I'm tripping on my brother. And he survived. So many examples I have that when I'm in situations that I believe is scary and threatened, I'll cut to my brother dying in the hospital and the doctor tells me, please don't let me resuscitate. Please let me start taking him off of these machines. Your brother needs a new brain, a new heart, a new liver. It's nothing happening, man. We got to let him go. And I go, you need to give me a minute. First, I am present for this experience. And I got to get out of self. You follow me? That's my only brother, my oldest brother. He's a single dad, 2 young boys. Give me a minute. And they look at him. I'm thinking, I go back now and I look at it. I go in that family room and my nephews and everybody's in the window, right? Like, what is she doing with that minute? And I'm in there inventorying, yo. And I'm telling on myself. I'm being selfish. I want him to live. I'm self-seeking. I'm dishonest. I'm co-responsible. I'm breaking it down. Am I entirely ready for God to take this away? What? I want my brother to live. I don't want to be the one to make the decision. Am I entirely ready to let go of all of this? I think I am because I'm only going to make it worse. What's my assignment? What's my assignment? And then I go, God, just take all of me, good and bad. What will you have me be? What will you have me do? So I can make a decision, a life and death decision. What? I'm the baby. I did that with my uncle. I did that with my brother. Did that with my father. And I just did that with my mother. Yo, 6 and 7? And I remember mommy had a brain hemorrhage before this last time. And I struggled with making the decision of what type of surgery or not to have the surgery. And what I said to the doctor is, I will not make a decision till my house is in order. Because in every decision that I have made with my uncle, with my brother, with my father, I've done it with no regrets because I stand in higher authority. That answer came because my house was in order. And until then, I'm not deciding anything with my mother. And the doctor completely respected that. You know what I'm saying? I need to get rid of self. And then not too long, with not even a year later, I'm back in this hospital with mom, having to do the same thing. And this time, it does not look good. And I struggled. Because mommy had always had an unreasonable demand. And her request was that I leave her on life support for the rest of my life. Y'all just got to give me a minute. Get rid of self? Nobody here in the literature ever told me that it was going to be easy. It was cute. It was fun. Y'all just told me I needed to do it in order for me to recover from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And I'm free. And so when I am humbled to see my humanness, to see my limit, I'm limited. It's humbling. But I know that there's one that has all power. You told me, may I find, it's God. May I find him now? How do I find him? How do we get entirely ready? I love it. Oh, I'm willing to give up patience and I want to acquire patience and tolerance. Well, how else am I supposed to acquire it? I need to be put in situations that demand, do you know what I mean? That I find it. I always believed that mommy's job, our soul contract, was for mommy to remind me how spiritual I'm not. My mother would always be like, you're not spiritual. Watch this. You know what I'm saying? Let me like, you got me. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm not. Oh my goodness, did she stretch my spiritual muscles? I had a mother who was an alcoholic and then got Alzheimer's, so that's untreated alcoholism. And I would always say, she's been like that my whole life, but now we're calling it what? Alzheimer's? Now she gets to get away with it. I can't require her to step up and, and act like something. And she would stretch my spiritual muscles, and constantly caring for a mother who has untreated alcoholism, but can't remember that she's an alcoholic and not using any tools to work on it with Alzheimer's. Talk about asking that my defects of character be removed so that I can ask God, how do you want me to be here with her? How do I express understanding rather than to be understood? To love rather than to be loved? To forgive? My goodness. And every part of me believes that when mommy finally took her last breath, as my cousin said, it looked like I was telling her a bedtime story. Part of me really believes that mommy was like, poltergeist, this house is clean. Like she left. This house is clean. I'm like a blank canvas, man. Oh my goodness. It was as though she was like, I put all those things in there. And before I die, I'm going to do everything I can to reveal them. And the hands of God brought you into a program that's going to help you uncover, discover, and discard. So like my sponsor used to say, so I can arrive at my authentic self. So the removal of these defects of character, the humbleness that it brings me to, is not to disempower me in any way. It's actually to empower me and to stop playing the imposter of what I think God is. So I could just have an experience. So I can reach the highest thing I can ever reach here, which is a human being. So I can walk through this thing called life to know that living just ain't so bad. And so ultimately I can do what? Be of service. There's a lot of things. I should be 5 minutes now. I don't even know the time. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me. Okay. I always say there's a lot of things have been taken away without my permission. So many things. Houses, cars, jobs. I built companies. After I build them, they say it's not yours anymore. We're taking it from you. I've lived in houses and been responsible and paid for it. And they say, you know what? We want our house back. You got to go. Totaled the car. I can't drive it anymore. I liked it a lot, but it was totaled, accident, gone. Turns out your insurance never got paid, so we can't do anything about it. Can't get another car. Oh my God, I got so many stories of things taken away from me. Cancer took away my uncle. Parkinson's, my dad. But the one thing nobody ever could take away from me is my recovery. That's mine. That's mine to give away. That's mine to preserve and keep. And if it means I need to be willing to get rid of these defects of character that stands in the way of my usefulness and my sobriety, I don't know what y'all gonna do if you knew, but I'm doing it. If I was willing to give up my integrity, my dignity, my self-respect, my identity, my self-esteem, my self-worth, my family, my dreams, my hopes, my desire for alcohol, you think I'm going to come here and be like, oh, no, 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 God forbid, I can't give that up. You know what I mean? Like, what? Take it. And in return, I received the very things that I was robbed of? Why not? And so because everything is taken away from you, my permission, I have permission here to see what am I going to do with my recovery? Why join a 12-step program and not do the 12 steps? So I'm going to utilize these tools and I'm going to see what happens. There's always question marks in my life. I always have question marks. But the one thing I don't ever want to have a question mark is that I'm an alcoholic. And with all the question marks that I be having in my life, I'm very clear that I can't figure them out. I can't figure them out because when I try to figure them out, I'm driven by self. And so you know what I learned through these steps, particularly 6 and 7, I don't have to figure it out. The only thing I need to do is to treat my alcoholism. And then the answers come when my house is in order. And then I watch. And then, yes, I watch. Do for me, God, do for me what I cannot do for myself. But what I am witnessing is my relationship in harmony with that power because I've redirected my will. And later, what I'm going to have is an intuitive thought. I'll now have a brain to use. I'll be in a place of neutrality. So I don't have a new puppet master. I'm now plugged in, man, with the source, yo. And now the decisions that I'm making are decisions that are for the greater good of all rather than just me. And so I have to let go of everything. And that's not easy for me. There are a lot of things I want to hold on to. There's a lot of things that I think life would be better if I could just manage well, or if you could just follow the script. And again, nothing in our literature tells me I'm a horrible person for doing that. It just tells me that that is common in the illness that I suffer from, and it don't work no more. So we're going to try something different. And what I have found is that when I try something different, things turn out to be the best for all, even sometimes when I don't agree. I want to give one more example of when I've said, I refuse, I am not ready to have God remove any of these defects of character. And I am standing on my ground, regardless of what anybody says. I don't care, whatever you call it, I'm going to do it. And that was when my father was dying. I buried my brother. He died in December. I buried him in January, dismantled his life in February. And then right when I finished doing that, they called me and said, your dad is leaving. He's not drinking. He's not eating. The Parkinson's has progressed. Your dad is going. And I went to daddy and I looked at him and I said, I don't think so. I just buried your son. You follow me? You ain't dying, daddy. Let's pretend that I am Jesus and you are Nazareth. You understand me? I will feed you a hamburger intravenously. You will get up. You will walk. You will eat. And everybody was like, how insensitive. I mean, daddy was on his deathbed. They were like, you gotta let him go. I was like, no, I'm not. And I ain't calling my sponsor. I ain't writing an inventory. I ain't doing no prayer. Get up, daddy. You understand me? Get up. I'm daddy's little girl. I can't even start talking about it. I'm gonna start crying. Get up. And everybody was like, no, no, no. And we're religious. Thank you. And we do some religious, thank you. We do divination and sacrifices. And we are gonna go get a goat. You know what I'm saying? And there's a divination that we do where you shake, and separate. And daddy couldn't do it, man. He was just dying. And I was like, give me those things. And I was shaking. It was everybody. Oh my goodness. Nobody could tell me. Theresa, can we pray about this? No, no, no. Do you know that my daddy got up and started walking? He loved me unconditionally, y'all. I wasn't playing. I wasn't ready for him to go. And he lasted till July. And in July, everybody's looking at me like, even daddy was looking at me like, yo, this is getting a little difficult. And I was like, okay, daddy. I'm not okay, but it's going to be okay. I'm ready to let go, man. I'm ready to let go. And I don't even have words to describe that. As my dad watched me in his eyes as he took his last breath. And I do believe that daddy knew that finally the hands of God and Alcoholics Anonymous was wrapped around his baby and she was finally safe and that I was going to be all right. But man, that was a rough one. But that's one example. I got a few more that I'm like, I refuse. I'm spiritually sick, and so are you. And to I'm in less judgment. It's an opportunity to do better. And I get to surround myself today, I hope, with people who have love and tolerance of me too, as I do my best with you. Because I'm still learning and I'm still growing and I'm still reaching for the things that I think I need to do so I could be safe. And now and then I may get Thor or Hulk or what's her name, Frozen with the hair, I don't know, Halle Berry. I may get them to come in and help me now and then I get to experience how, were we really successful here? No. Let's try to do better next time. And there's a wonderful step coming up, 8 and 9, that gives me an opportunity to clean it up. But what you taught me is that I can't spend my time making messes and constantly apologizing. So I need to practice these steps early enough, asking God to remove them so I don't tear up any more towns as often as I used to. And so I hope, again, I always feel like I don't do them justice when I have to share on the steps, but I've done the best I could to just give you a little hint of how I do the best I can to incorporate them in my life, but it still requires some more work. So the answer to 6 and 7 is moving forward, which I hope we all come back to experience next week. And they can clean up anything I messed up about is 8 and 9. So thank you again. Thank you for allowing me to participate in my recovery. And thank you for allowing me to share and doing a 12-step call on me. Thank you.
Theresa, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I wish there was a way to bottle up or share the energy and emotion that you brought to this meeting and send some back to you. If we just gave you a quarter of that, you would know what an immense impression you made here this evening. So thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to open up the chat and we're going to unmute everybody just in 1 minute here before we do so. I'm sorry, I was a little bit emotional. That was really good. A reminder, we will be back at 8 p.m. next Monday. We're going to have Cindy M. from Louisville, Kentucky. She's going to take us through the chapter of Vision for You, a very special edition. Hope we certainly can join us. And before we wrap everything up and unmute and open up the chat, I believe we learned there is a responsibility that comes with what we do here. And that responsibility statement goes as follows. I am responsible when anyone, anywhere reaches out for help. I want the hand of AA to always be there. And for that, I am responsible. And once again, thank you so much, Theresa. What a blessing. The chat should be open. Everybody should be unmuted. But please, let's give our love and gratitude to Theresa.
Thank you,
Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa. That
so
was
much.
really
It
nice.
was awesome,
Appreciate you.
amazing.
Thank
Teresa.
you.
It was amazing.
Thanks for showing
Teresa.
up.
Fantastic job.
We love
Thank you,
you.
Teresa.
Nice
Thank
job.
You are Thor.
Thank you, Teresa. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Teresa. Got so much out of it. Awesome.
Thank you, Teresa. You've helped me so much the past couple of years.
Thank you, Teresa. Love you.
You make it real and believable. Unreal. Nice job.
Thank you, my sister Teresa. Wonderful job. Love you. You make me emotional with happiness.
Thank you, Teresa.
I appreciate you, Teresa. I made it.
You should be able to unmute now.
Woo.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
sponsor.
Myself. Hey, Roman.
Hey, thank you, man. I
Hey,
was
Tim.
with you.
You was with me on Roman.
I was with you through a lot of that. That was a journey.
Yeah.
Man, you rocked it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. From one Boricua to another, I could relate to everything you were talking about. I'm going through the same thing with my father and my mother right now. So God bless you. Thank you so much for that.
Mira, que Dios te bendiga. Get my phone number if you have to. We'll be needing each other. Right, Roman? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Woo. You do.
Illness, loss, death. Man, that'll test. You know what I mean? Giving up of self. Jeez. Huh, Tiffany?
Yes. Hey, Roman.
Hey, what's up, Ted?
Thanks,
We're
T. Love you.
usually on Monday, Journey of a Caregiver. I haven't done it for a minute, Tiffany. I got to get back to doing that so we can share that. Yep. Hey, Ruth.
Teresa, that was
Hey,
beautiful.
Jay.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Managed to make me laugh at the most tragic times with the song your stuff.
Right.
I can't with you. I just can't with her.
That's
I
so
love you.
true.
Yes.
Yeah. The sunlight of the spirit. I got to be there one day at a time.
Mm.
Yep. Ruthie, we got to laugh at this stuff. We don't laugh at this stuff. We probably blow our brains out.
You know it. You know it, but yeah, that's only a quarter of your story.
I done heard you several times. You always give up something with God. I love it.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you.
You are all in.
And I met here. I'm gonna hear Ralph. Man, I missed that. I know that was good last week. Oh my God, I'm sure that was so good.
I miss my company.
Thank you for sending me the recording. And I found myself, trying to come. I'm like, I'm gonna listen to Ralph so I know kind of what I'm talking about. A lot of times I've done workshops with him. Like we've gone all over the world. It's funny because he be so good. He's like a poet, and he'd be up there talking. I'm be after him, and then he'd be like, all right, now I'm gonna turn it over to T, and I'd be like, I'm participating.
He's probably listening to you.
I was like, that was
See
good,
what
Ralph.
he said.
Now I thought I knew the step. Now I don't think I know it anymore.
You know it.
Last week, his share was so fast. He just blitzed through it because he had somewhere else to go, but it was still really great. But, trying to take notes on that, the way he blitzed through last week.
Yeah, he could sound like he's doing some rapping poetry or something, man. We gotta catch those words. And that was
He
the
embodies his shit. That's
thing.
just all
Yeah,
there is.
step one. He was doing step one with Candace, the 2-week thing last week. So I was over there waiting for him. I mean, I was there thinking we were gonna come here afterwards. I got it back.
What are they doing tonight?
She's doing step 2. And I don't know who the guest is. She has a guest like every 2 weeks or something like that.
Okay.
But I'm heading out to
Aaron.
Winnipeg Friday. It's gonna be freezing. Pray for me, everybody.
Oh,
It's gonna be like -15. Tiffany, we have to catch up. I want to see how's your grandma?
She's doing good. She's doing great. It's a
Yeah?
good week. It's a good week. Yeah.
Okay, I like those
Thank
good.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I remind you, just call me anytime you need to. I know I haven't been on the podcast thing, but call me. I
Okay.
think often you and your grandma keep you in my prayers, but you can always reach out.
I know. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Have a good evening, everybody.
hey, Karen and Dad.
Teresa,
I'm gonna jump in.
Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you so
Teresa.
much.
Love
That was
you.
What a
amazing.
wonderful,
What'd you say,
wonderful lead.
Ruth?
I said hi, Karen.
Hey, Ruth. See you at Woodstock.
I'll see you. Yes, I will. See you. Thanks, T. I love you.
Thanks, T. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Darren and company.
Thank you.
Miss Ruth. See ya.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night,
Good night,
George.
George.
All right. Sorry, I had to turn my camera off. Someone came, stopped by and brought me food and medicine and stuff. I'm just
We're
coming
glad
out
you're
of surgery. But God's willing, I'll be back next week.
All right.
It's a great meeting.
Prayers,
Great
prayers for healing, George.
Thank you.
We'll see you
Much
next
success.
week.
All right. You folks have a good week. Stay safe.
Thank
All
you,
right.
George.
You too, George.
Great. Do we have people entering the waiting room or we move?
No, I'm popping them in.
Popping them. Okay, that's what I did.
How do I get this